Welcome back to Autistically Accurate, where I aspirationally aim for autistical accuracy. My Pensieve episode 66. The complexity of vengeance and the power of love over hate. In the labyrinth of human emotion, few forces are as potent and destructive as anger, and none as complex as the desire for vengeance. The impulse to seek retribution is rooted deep within our primal instincts, an urge to right a wrong, to balance the scales when we perceive ourselves as wronged. Yet, there is a fine line between retribution and revenge, and it is often in this space that the greatest emotional struggles unfold. The choice between reacting with hate or love to a perceived injustice raises profound questions about the nature of conflict, the limits of human capacity for forgiveness, and the personal sacrifices required for true catharsis. At its core, vengeance is a desire for cathartic release. It is the act of unleashing one's fury in response to perceived harm, an attempt to exorcise the pain and frustration that has accumulated in the face of betrayal, injury, or injustice. The act of revenge can be alluring, offering the promise of restoring control and reaffirming one's sense of power. However, there is an inherent danger in this pursuit. Vengeance is rarely proportional to the offense. As philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once suggested, the act of revenge often seeks not merely to punish but to destroy, making it generous overkill. It does not stop at righting the wrong. It escalates, magnifies, and deepens the wound. Revenge, in its most extreme form, seeks to obliterate not just the perpetrator but their very existence within the moral narrative, to erase their ability to retaliate and to impose one's own dominance over the wrongdoer. In this way, revenge can become an art of excess, a form of catharsis that seeks release through brutality, all the while leaving a hollow, self-destructive victory. While vengeance offers the promise of emotional release, it is a double-edged sword. The indulgence in excessive revenge often binds the vengeful person to the cycle of anger, bitterness, and resentment. This endless loop of rage does not heal the original wound, it only reinforces it, creating a perpetual emotional and moral turmoil that prevents true closure. It is an illusion of control that ultimately leaves both the victim and the perpetrator stuck in a web of mutual harm. This is why, in moments of intense emotion, the decision to choose love over hate, retribution over revenge, becomes so difficult yet so crucial. Retribution, in contrast, is the more measured response to injustice. It is not driven by the need for excessive harm but by the desire to restore balance. Retribution seeks justice without the compulsion for overkill. In its purest form, it is an act of fairness, an acknowledgement that the wrong must be addressed, but not at the cost of one's own moral integrity. It is, in essence, the pursuit of moderation in a world that often leans toward extremes. While vengeance spirals out of control, retribution maintains focus on correcting the imbalance, ensuring that the punishment fits the crime. Yet, the most difficult choice comes when one opts to love their enemy. This is perhaps the greatest sacrifice of all. A rejection of the natural inclination toward vengeance in favor of a response that may not yield immediate satisfaction. To love one's enemy, to choose to respond to hate with kindness, is an act of profound emotional discipline. It requires setting aside personal injury, not to ignore it, but to transcend it. It is the deliberate decision to break the cycle of escalation, to interrupt the self-perpetuating loop of harm, and to choose healing instead. Loving one's enemy can feel like an impossibly difficult choice, particularly when the emotional instinct is to lash out in anger. The sacrifice lies not only in the act of kindness but in the vulnerability it entails. When we choose love over hate, we expose ourselves to the possibility of further harm, for love does not guarantee reciprocation. The enemy may reject this olive branch, continue to perpetuate harm, or even escalate the conflict. It is a risky proposition, but it is one that offers the chance for transformation. By loving our enemies, we risk breaking free from the corrosive effects of hatred, healing not only the other person but also ourselves. To love one's enemy is to release the poison of bitterness and rage, to refuse to let these emotions dictate the course of one's life. It is an act of emotional and moral transcendence that requires immense personal strength. This choice interrupts the predictable patterns of conflict and invites the possibility of reconciliation, or at the very least, peace. It may not always work, love may not always be returned, and peace may remain elusive. Yet, the act of choosing love rather than vengeance is a victory in itself, a reclaiming of one's moral agency and emotional integrity. In a world where the temptation to repay hate with hate and violence with violence is ever present, the choice to love one's enemy may seem counterintuitive, even naive. Yet, it is precisely this act that offers the most profound possibility for change. Love does not seek to escalate the conflict, but to de-escalate it, to bring both parties out of their poisoned emotional states. It is a radical act of self-restraint and emotional clarity in the face of chaos. It acknowledges the hurt, but chooses healing over harm, reconciliation over revenge. In the end, vengeance and love are both deeply human responses to suffering, but it is through love that we truly transcend the cycles of anger and retribution that bind us. It is a difficult and risky sacrifice, but one that offers the chance for deeper healing, of both the self and the world around us. May peace and prosperity be with you. Thank you for watching this presentation. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share my videos and channel to everyone you believe will appreciate such serendipitously informative content.